What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Gamescript. We're looking at the Minnesota Vikings versus the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football. And there is a guy coming back this week that is going to make a huge impact on the Chargers passing game, and I'm going to get into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Gamescript. Like I said at the top, it's the Minnesota Vikings versus the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football. We got a 44.5-point spread in this one with the Chargers as 3-point favorites. It's a couple teams that have been struggling despite high expectations. The Chargers especially getting hit with a bunch of injuries, especially to their offensive line, that has put them in a bad spot early on in the season. But we're getting a return this week that should improve things for the Chargers. The Vikings have been stuck with Carson Wentz most recently as their lead quarterback. They lost J.J. McCarthy early in the year, and they weren't really getting much out of J.J. McCarthy before they lost him anyways. So Carson Wentz was actually an upgrade, and he has been struggling, but this should be a matchup where I think both these quarterbacks could do well, and we could get a potential shootout in this one, especially with some of the injuries to each of the defenses. And then on top of that, we get the return of one of the main cogs of the Los Angeles offense that's going to help out Justin Herbert big time. So before I get into that, make sure to hit the like button. I'm looking for 50 likes to put my favorite plays in the comment section as we get closer to lock. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I need about 20 more subscribers to hit that 2100 mark. So help me get there. And you want to subscribe anyways to get alerts. Sign up for alerts from when all these shows come out. Gamescript. I got a main slate show called Player Pool, which I put out on Saturdays. And then on top of that, all the 2-game slates I usually cover, and then the international games and just everything. So you want alerts for when all those shows go up. You also want to subscribe because I'm going to give my YouTube subscribers free access to a free beta preview of my website. You're going to have access to the free beta preview during that time, and that's going to be coming very soon. Probably a couple weeks out right now. We're just in the phase of getting everything up on Amazon's web services. So once that's up and running, you guys would get access if you have subscribed to the YouTube channel. So make sure you do that. And let's get into this game. You can see too, I have a promo code at the top. Underdog, use the promo code SEEK. This is actually $100. So you're going to play a $5 and you're going to get $100 in bonus funds from Underdog by using the promo code SEEK. And you want to do that. They got some fun pick'em games. And on top of that, we're getting close to playoff best ball, which is one of my best games. I came in first in a Underdog playoff best ball contest last year, one of the mittens. And then on top of that, I also came in first with a DraftKings playoff best ball tournament. So good year last year, and it's a fun game to play on top of that. So subscribe, use the promo code SEEK when you sign up for an Underdog account, and they'll give you $100 when you play $5. Bet MGM as well. Use the promo code HEATER1500. They're going to give you up to $1,500 of a risk-free bet. So if you bet $200 and you lose $200 for your first bet, they're going to replenish you with $200 worth of bets. So take advantage of those promo codes and get that free money. We'll start things off with the injury report. You can see on the Chargers depth chart, we've had some damage, especially to running back. Look at all these running backs we're missing. Even Haskins is out now. We're literally down to Kamani Vidal. fulfilling the prophecy of best ball a couple off seasons ago, where Kamani Vidal was supposed to be this guy that took over that backfield when Gus Edwards was the lead back, but we didn't get that. But finally, 2 years later, I think he got cut from the team at one point and he came back, and now we got him in the starting role for the Chargers. With the offensive line, like, this is where we had the significant damage that's been affecting the the air yards of Justin Herbert. His air yards are about 50% increased when you get Joe Alt back. So it increases by about 50% with his air yards. And Joe Alt has said that's the plan when asked if he's going to play this week. He's been practicing. It looks like Joe Alt is going to be back this week. And if he's back, that's going to be a huge, huge impact. You see this left tackle, like, just damage all around. We got like depth issues. 2 guys on the depth chart are questionable. We got like 1 healthy guy. He's like 3rd man on the list, but Joe Alt should be back. And we're going to base our analysis around Joe Alt being back this week. So Becton is back as well. He was looking wobbly at the end of the last game, but it looks like he doesn't have an injury designation. And Pipkins might be playing as well. He's also questionable. So we need these guys to be playing to give us a nice like offensive output for the Chargers this week. On the defense, you can see there's just a ton of injuries. A lot of depth issues, a lot of guys on IR mainly. But as far as the current starters, we got Elijah Molden questionable. Like a couple other guys questionable on IR. So just a banged up defense in general. Their defense has not been playing very well, but we'll see how they do against Carson Wentz and the Vikings. Switching over to the Vikings. We'll take a look at them real quick. You see J.J. McCarthy is questionable, but he's not going to be starting. It's going to be Carson Wentz. Xavier Scott, this is significant because we're looking at most of the running backs on the depth chart for the Vikings are on IR with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, and Xavier Scott is questionable. So that's going to be significant for Jordan Mason and the workload that he gets. He could be have it all to himself. He's had about a 70% share of the backfield so far the last few weeks. CJ Ham's even out. Even their fullback is out. On the offensive line for the Vikings, we're looking at Christian Darrisaw questionable. That's a significant one. Like, that guy's is another stud left tackle. And Brian O'Neill is questionable as well. So we want to keep an eye on inactives for all these questionable offensive line guys. Moving on to Minnesota's defense. Van Ginkel being out is significant. Like, that's a pretty big injury for their linebacker core. So Van Ginkel being out, that's going to be pretty significant for us, probably mainly in the run game. So Kimani Vidal could end up having a big game. He had a pretty big game a few weeks ago, but he could be set up for another game here this week. Let's go to the snap counts here and look at the snap counts for these running backs. I want to see with Minnesota who else has been playing really for running back. We had 77% by Jordan Mason last week, and Xavier Scott had 13%. Him gone. CJ Ham's gone. We're basically down to Cam Akers as a backup. So we'll see if he's active tomorrow. And that's it for guys that have played on Minnesota this season. Let's go look at the Chargers. Hampton went out. Harris is done for the season. He tore his Achilles. Hassan Haskins out as well. So we're down to Vidal, and we're down to Nyheim Hines. So Nyheim Hines might be interesting this week. We haven't seen or heard of him in a while, basically since he was, since he was with um, the Buffalo Bills. So let me share this real quick, and you can get a look at the snap count that he had. He only had a 1% snap count last week, Nyheim Hines, but we had 64% for Vidal. Haskins, like I said, is out. So, we got some significant developments to keep track of ahead of the game tomorrow. Because if we look at Vidal, we'll take a look at him first. Last week, he did not do much of anything, 2.2 yards to carry. Previous week, he had 6.9, though. He had a really good game against Miami. Miami's a crappy defense, but Indy, they don't have the best defense either, but, he only got 7.5 DraftKings points in that game. Let's take a look at Nyheim Hines. Oh, I think we're gonna have to dig deep for Nyheim Hines here. Where's he at? They don't even have him. Yeah, they don't even have Nyheim Hines in the player pool. So we may have to check over on FanDuel to see if Nyheim Hines is there. Because if we could get like a $200 Nyheim Hines with the potential, like he's the type of guy that would impress a coach like Harbaugh, like veteran players, with a veteran presence. But like Nyheim Hines is. Hang on a second. Let me look at see if it's the guy. I think he's the guy that ran those kickoff return touchdowns the week that the player got had the heart attack on the field, and it was huge emotional touchdowns, and he had 2 kickoff return touchdowns in that game. But then he got hurt, and Damar Hamlin was the guy, and then he got hurt, and he was gone. I think he missed he must have missed the season. Let's go check this out real quick. In case they add him to the player pool, I'm just going to cover this Nyheim Hines thing real quick. I'm going to take a look at his game logs over on Pro Football Reference. I don't know if they're going to add him to the player pool, which is like, I don't know how DraftKings slept on this. But let's see. Yeah, he hasn't played since the 2022 season, basically, 2022, 2023. So he's been out a couple years, but he's been with the team now for a couple weeks. He even had some returns. He's had 4 kickoff returns and 3 kickoff returns the time before that. We'll check out FanDuel at some point and see if he's going to be in the FanDuel player pool. But that's that type of guy, like you see a coach like Harbaugh giving a guy like this a decent amount of playing time potentially. But we'll see what happens there. But Justin Jefferson obviously going to be the like the highest floor in this game. Justin Jefferson has not scored a touchdown since week 1. I think that's significant. I think they're going to make it a point to get him in the end zone in this one. And the matchup that Justin Jefferson has, Chargers have only been giving up 11.4 DraftKings points out wide to guys. Let's see. No, I'm sorry. They've been giving up 18.2 to wideouts, 65% target share to those players. So, it's a middling matchup for Justin Jefferson, but like I'm not really worried about Justin Jefferson in any matchup. I think that they're gonna just pepper him with targets because these games that he hasn't scored a touchdown, They've lost 3 out of the last 5 games where Justin Jefferson hasn't been, like maybe necessarily like targeted as many times as he should. 6 targets in one game, 7 targets in another game. But then the last 3 games, he's had 10, 11, and 11. So they've been getting him the ball more recently, but I see him scoring a touchdown in this one. I put out an underdog short earlier tonight where I had Justin Jefferson as a scoring a touchdown in that pick 'em. But I think Justin Jefferson is due. Um, see some see if I have any notes on Justin Jefferson too. Uh, so according to Rich Rebar, Jefferson's seen 25.9% of Wentz's throws against cover 3 and cover 4 with a 3.75 yards per route run against these looks. And the Chargers are second in the league at the rate of cover 4 and 8th at the rate of cover 3. So that's significant. Rich Rebar, Sharp Football Analysis. That just adds to it with Jefferson for me. I already think he's going to have a big game in this one. But yeah, Justin Jefferson should have a big game. He's expensive though. Look at his captain salary at 11 or 17.7, 11.8 for his flex. So Justin Jefferson, while I think he's going to have a big week, I think there's going to be a few other cheaper guys that are also going to have a big week. Justin Herbert, 32.9 DraftKings points in that last game. You can see where he lost Alt here. He lost him in week 3. And I think it was week 3, the beginning of week 3. And then we saw, 14.5 points in week 4, 15.6 in week 5, 18.8 in week 6. We did see that big week last week against Indy, but that was a shootout with Chargers playing from behind for most of that game. Right around here, after week 3, they were looking dominant. And when they lost Alt and started going downhill, I actually bet them to win the Super Bowl, or not win the Super Bowl, get to the Super Bowl against the Packers in around week 3. Put the ultimate jinx on them. They lost Alt, and they started to lose all their games, like 3 out of their last 4 after I made that bet. So apologies to the Chargers fans for that one. But we'll see. With Alt back, we should see closer to this version of Herbert, and they don't have a passing game, or they don't have a running game. So, Herbert's going to be using his legs in this one too. He was another one in that underdog video. I had him as a rushing touchdown in this game. So, Justin Herbert should be set up to have a decent game, especially if they get Alt back. Now, the last time that they played Minnesota was in 2023. Obviously they had a different offensive coaching staff, and there are different coaching staff in general for the Chargers. But with the Vikings, they had the same coaching staff, and they had Brian Flores still as a defensive coordinator. And let's see, where's that game? Going to show you what Herbert did in that game. So check out this box score. Like in that game in 2023, they faced against Minnesota. He had 33 DraftKings points in that one. Let's make sure we're on DraftKings here. He had 29 DraftKings points in that one. If you look at Keenan Allen, in that game. 20 targets, 18 receptions, 215 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen. This is just 2 years ago. And Keenan Allen has been the primary target for Justin Herbert this season when he's getting blitzed. And we know that Minnesota blitzes at the second highest rate in the league. And Keenan Allen is going to be teed up to have a decent game in this one. 20 targets in 2023, the last time they played Minnesota, 18 receptions, 215 yards. Mike Williams also did well. Another weakness of Minnesota's defense is against the deep ball. You can see with Mike Williams, it looked like that was the case back then too. Mike Williams, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown. So both those guys had monster games. Even Josh Palmer threw in 66 yards and a touchdown in that one. So, just the overall like massive games from these guys. So, Herbert, we could see another one of these 30-point games out of Herbert this week, especially with Alt back. The ability, like the weapons on the Minnesota side are good too. We got Jefferson, like I already talked about, but then we also got Jordan Addison, who's been playing well. We've seen him get a touchdown a couple weeks ago. Last week, he had 24 DraftKings points. The week before that, 15. Then he had 18 as well. So Jordan Addison is playing well since he got back from the suspension. Let's look at Carson Wentz. Wentz has had one good week since he became the starter, but look at all the passing attempts he's had: 42, 34, 46. So they're passing a ton. So Chargers defense has not been good recently. So we could totally see a shootout in this one potentially, even though the Chargers only given up 16.1 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position, and the Vikings are only giving up 15.1. But look at the quarterbacks that the Vikings have played. They played Cincinnati in the week that Burrow went out, right? They played, I think he went out in week 1, or at least they were, or no, that's week 3. So with at least with Carson Wentz playing, they played Cincinnati in week 3. So that was Browning as the quarterback. They played Pittsburgh. They played like kind of old man Rodgers in week 4, but Rodgers had some success against them. The veteran quarterbacks have had the success in Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers. When they faced off against Dylan Gabriel, like they dominated Dylan Gabriel. We'll take a look at another one of these Minnesota players so we get a better idea of who they played in week 1 and 2. We had Chicago in week 1, and that was when Caleb Williams had a really bad game. And then in week 2, they faced off against Penix, Michael Penix, who hasn't done much this season either. So they've had some weak competition from the quarterback department. Penix has come alive towards the back last few weeks, but like in the beginning of the season, he was struggling a little bit too. But we've point being that despite giving up only 16.1 or 15 DraftKings points a game, like the Vikings defense is manageable for these veteran quarterbacks, and we've seen Justin Herbert shred them already. So I'm thinking that this one could potentially be a shootout. Let's see who the Chargers have faced to get their low quarterback. They faced off against Patrick Mahomes, and then they had like Geno Smith. They had Bo Nix. Bo Nix was slow in the beginning of the season. Week 4, I don't know if that was that was Jackson Dart's first start, and Jackson Dart basically owned that defense. Then we had week 5. I don't know if Jaden Daniels started in that game. Then we had week 6 against Miami, and 2 has just been a disaster. And then they faced off against Daniel Jones. So they faced a few good quarterbacks, but Daniel Jones was able to put up 38 points on them. So, they are definitely a defense that can be exploited. Let's take a look at Jordan Mason. He might own the backfield to himself, but like, look at what he's done these last few weeks. Not very much at all, but he should get volume in this one. depending on how the game flow goes. But I think both these teams, with their damage to the run games, are going to be leaning towards the pass. So that's why I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like a shootout situation. Quentin Johnson benefits from that Minnesota deep ball situation I was talking about. Joe Alt, with Joe Alt, we had 24.9, we had 15.9, we had 14.9. We did have that one big week against the Giants where Quentin Johnson had a pretty good game, but he's been MIA the last couple games without Alt here. Now we get him back this week. That's going to give Herbert more time to throw. Like the vulnerability of Minnesota's defense against the deep ball, that's going to put Quentin Johnson in a captain consideration for us. And it's going to be a low-owned captain, hopefully, based on the last couple weeks where he hasn't done much. But we'll see how that shapes out tomorrow. And that's why you want to be paying attention to the comment section and hit that like button so I can put my favorite picks in the comment section, because a lot of my decisions are based on ownership. You basically, with Showdown, you have to figure out a guy who's going to be low owned because you don't want to be competing against 80% of the field. The other day, like I hit on the captain with Davante Adams. It didn't matter because he was a 20% owned captain. Or maybe it wasn't Davante Adams. It was somebody who was a 20% owned captain, and he ended up having 3 touchdowns, having a monster game. It didn't mean anything, because 20% of the field had him as the captain already, or 20+% of the field. So you basically have to be perfect with the rest of your lineup, which I was not. So I didn't cash in any of those lineups of Davante Adams, despite nailing the captain in that one. Keenan Allen, went over the benefit of Keenan Allen. We saw him 31.9 DraftKings points last week. I had this Chargers stack, Keenan Allen to Justin Herbert in the main slate last week, and those guys ended up putting me in 16th place in the queue for the fantasy championship on DraftKings. I was in the $50 queue, and they put me into 16th place with that stack. I was going to put in Gadsden as my tight end in that. I didn't end up doing that, and it ended up completely biting me in the ass because I would have won a ticket if I'd just done that. But yeah, I had no clue that Gadsden would be putting up 30 DraftKings points or whatever he put up last week. Let's take a look at him. Gadsden is still cheap at 5,800. I bet you Gadsden will be popular in the captain after the week he just had, but he put up 31.4 DraftKings points last week. There's a lot of mouths to feed here in Los Angeles, and I would expect Gadsden to continue to do well, but I don't know if he's going to be putting up a score to get us in the optimal, but he could definitely do that. Keenan Allen is another guy I'm considering in the optimal, by the way, or in the captain. Ladd McConkey, running in the slot. The Vikings are good versus the slot. McConkey's been running a decent amount out wide, but the way that I see them broken up is Keenan Allen is running 62% out wide and 38% in the slot. McConkey's been running 69% in the slot and 31% out wide. So it's been primarily a slot receiver for McConkey. Let's see. But, with Herbert under pressure, he should be targeting these McConkey and Keenan Allen at a higher rate. If we see ownership numbers that point to McConkey, then he'd be significant. Another nugget from Rich Rebar is Minnesota is 3rd in points allowed to slot receivers, so they are really good against the slot. And that's going to put Ladd McConkey a little bit further down the list than these other guys, primarily running out of the slot. But we could easily make that pivot from Keenan Allen to McConkey if the ownership is going to be on Allen. Jordan Addison, went over him already. He's another captain consideration guy. We got a lot of guys for potential captain this week. Aaron Jones is out. Skip through these guys. Gadsden and went over him. Both these kickers are going to be in play. The Chargers have the lowest touchdown conversion rate, or a really low touchdown conversion rate. So can expect them to maybe get stalled out in the red zone. And that's where I can see Dicker having a couple field goals. Reichard as well. Both these guys are going to be in play. Dicker, the kicker, a couple weeks over 10 DraftKings points, and Reichard, he just had his 18-point week last week, and then he's had a 14-point week. So these guys can put up beastly numbers. Hawkinson dropped one in the end zone last week. 10.3 DraftKings points. He hasn't been playing as well as I thought he would with Carson Wentz, but he's still getting the targets. He's got 9, 6, 5, 6. So don't be surprised to get targets in the end zone for Hawkinson. All right, moving on. We got the defenses. I don't know how high I am on the defenses, thinking it's going to be a shootout, but shootouts lend themselves to pick sixes. But it's a -3 out of the Chargers last week. We've had a few good weeks out of them. Vikings, we had a 30-point week against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, but I don't think that this is going to be a 30-point week for the Vikings with Herbert. Jalen Naylor is another guy that's a pretty good target, but I just don't see him putting up the ceiling that we need. But he's a guy that can be sneaky if we need the salary relief. So definitely won't rule him out. Scott, we need to see if he plays. He did have a 16.4 week a couple weeks ago against Pittsburgh. But, Xavier Scott, we want to keep an eye on his status. If he does not play, I thought I saw that he was out. No, he's still questionable. So, yeah, we'll have to see what his situation is. But he could be a cheap guy for us if we need it. Trey Harris is getting a decent amount of work. Let's go over to the snap counts again. Take a look at the wide receivers. Trey Harris is another guy that could benefit from the deep situation here for us. We go to the Chargers. We see that Trey Harris had 43% snap count last week. He's probably splitting it with Keenan Allen there. So, Trey Harris is a guy that's going to be in play for us. The Chargers, I was listening to Gruden. Gruden was talking, the Chargers use a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. So, Trey Harris is just as in play as any of these other guys. And with their running back situation, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a decent amount of work for him this week. He's a rookie, 3K, has not done anything yet, but this could be a type of matchup if he ends up getting one of those deep balls. Josh Oliver has scored a couple touchdowns this week. I think one of these weeks I had Hawkinson and for an anytime touchdown or something, and I think that Oliver ended up getting it, and it was just kind of a brutal run out there. He's cheap though at 2,400, and he's a end zone threat. Thielen, I don't think Thielen's really done much of anything this season. Disley, Gadsden at this point has taken over the passing role in this offense for the tight ends, but Disley could always get a cheap touchdown. Akers, if that Zoran guy is out, or Xavier Zoran, if Xavier is out, then that's going to put Cam Akers in a good spot at 1K. So he'll be the only backup to Jordan Mason. And as we go down further into this dumpster dive, I don't see a lot of other options. Let's go to see who would be the backup for. So it's Haskins out. So Vidal, they don't have Naheem Hines on here. So I might ignore these other guys, like this Matlock guy. I mean, do you want to put this dude in your lineup? Like I don't. He looks more like a fullback to me. Like, I don't know, like what his situation is, but he's 200. So I don't know. Check the status when we get closer to lock tomorrow. Let's start building this thing. We're going to build it with the chalkier build first. Justin Jefferson, captain. I want to use Herbert, even though I have Jefferson in that captain spot. But let's go with Herbert. Let's get Mason in there too. Then we can go cheap on some of these receivers. God, I can't get any salary relief here. Let's go with Johnson. Scroll down here. You know what? I think it's probably better to go cheap with like Dicker. We know we want to give at least one receiver, so let's just take Herbert out of this one and put in Wentz. That leaves us with 3,500. Now I can't put Wentz over Herbert in a chalkier lineup. Let's get Herbert back in there. $2,100. Maybe Akers. So with Justin Herbert in the or with Justin Jefferson in the captain, probably take out Mason and put in Wentz instead there. We basically have a back and forth situation here. Not necessarily like a high scoring game, but this is a situation where Justin Jefferson's getting a lot of targets, a lot of receptions. Wentz is throwing in the ball. We got Herbert. His primary receiver is Gadsden. Let's say Herbert gets that rushing touchdown that I was projecting, and then they're stalling out in the red zone enough so that Dicker is getting a decent usage too. And then Gadsden is the guy that's getting the work. And then really it's like Akers or Disley probably. But I don't want to put two tight ends. Let's see what happens if I take Gadsden out. And I put in I can't even get up to these other guys. Let's take Dicker out. Let's put in. This is the constraints that you get with a captain like Justin Jefferson. So if I didn't want to use, let's take Wentz out of there. Let's just go straight with Quentin Johnson. We'll get Dicker back in this one. 4,200 per guy. Let's go with Gadsden, 2,700. So we put Oliver, Disley, Akers. We got options at least with that one, and I kind of like how that build looks better. Anyways, we could swap out Quentin Johnson. We could put in Keenan Allen if we wanted to. At least is with 2,900. Same situation basically. If we wanted to get to Harris, we could come off of Keenan Allen and put in McConkey. And let's say that Harris was the guy that got the deep balls in this one, and that would work out well for us. So we'd have Herbert to Gadsden and Harris. Or Herbert to McConkey, Gadsden, and Harris. So we got a lot of receivers covered there. And then we'd have Justin Jefferson getting most of the points on Minnesota's side. This would be a 5-1 build, like unintentionally. So maybe Oliver would be a better guy to put in that final spot. But, if I had to build like this, I would just rotate, a couple guys in that final spot. Let's go to a different style of build. I want to do Quentin Johnson, the captain, Herbert again. Let's get Jefferson in there. Let's go with Gadsden over Dicker. Leaves us with 5K per guy. Let's assume that Vidal's going to get most of the work, but let's put in Jordan Mason. Doesn't leave us with much. If we wanted to use Vidal instead, the Chargers guys seem to be like the cheap guys in this one, so you might be like goaded into a like a 5-1 build. Left with 3K in that situation too. I don't know if I'd go Harris in this one. I go Oliver in this one too, I think. Say we wanted to get rid of Johnson. Let's go with his safety blanket and Keenan Allen at the captain. Leaves us with 3,300. Same situation, Trey Harris. Let's say we don't want to do Gadsden. Let's do Dicker instead. That's 3,700. That puts Naylor in play for us. And Scott. So let's say we want to fade, or not fade, but like swap out Jefferson for Addison. That leaves us with 8K. So we get Johnson in this one. So it'd be like Herbert to Allen and Johnson. We got Kamani Vidal in there too. Dicker the kicker, and then we got Jordan Addison. So you can get like a lot more guys, and if you don't have Jefferson in there, it just depends on how big of a game you think Jefferson's going to have. With that 11.8 salary, that's expensive. Do you think that Jefferson is going to be more beneficial to your lineup than having the ability to put in Addison and Quentin Johnson in there? That's a like a decision to make. Let's see if we can get a let's go super cheap at captain and see what that does for us. Let's put Gadsden in there. We'll get Jefferson, Herbert. Let's get Johnson in there. 5,500 left per guy. If we wanted to try to squeeze in one of these slot guys, let's get Allen in there. 3,300. So we're still left with the ability to get Harris or Oliver in there. Again, going with very light on the Minnesota. Let's take out Allen, since we got Johnson in here. And let's put Addison in there instead. That leaves us with 3,700. That leaves Naylor as an option. That way we're getting more in the 3-3 build. We got Harris. I think Harris I would like better if I don't have Quentin Johnson in there, because I think he's going to take a deep ball to get there. So we could put Keenan Allen, get the safety blanket in there, and then we could put Harris in this build. That would leave money on the table, about $900. So it gets us a little bit different because most people like to use up all their salary, but that should give a few different options, like of ways to go. Like once I know the ownership, I'll have a better idea who my favorite owners are or who my favorite captains are. So make sure to hit that like button. Give me the 50 likes so we can put those comments, those picks in the comment section. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Help me get to that 2,100 mark. I only need about 20 to get there. And I will see you guys. Check out that underdog video, and then use that as your first $5 play, so that you can get that $100. So use the promo code SEEK to sign up there. And you can see that in my short section of my YouTube channel. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the comment section.